All right, so we're in AP Calculus lesson 2-10. Today's date is September 30th, 2020. Our objective is to do the quotient rule because our lesson is just the quotient rule. Again, last lesson of the unit. So, just as a reminder, if I take the derivative with respect to x of 3/4, what do I get? It's a constant. So, yeah, 0. Everyone write it down. It's the derivative of a constant. What about number 2 with the quiet raised hand? The derivative of negative 5x over 4. One hand knows it. But you just had it last time. Tough one? Good guess, but this one has an x in it. Negative 5. Really close. So this is the same thing as saying negative 5/4 x. And when you take the derivative, the x goes to the power of 0. So it's the original 5/4. Negative 5/4. Ooh. And then, what about number 3? Again, fractions are scary. So how do we get rid of the fraction? By using negative exponents first, and then we can take the derivative. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite in my notes, and you should copy my notes down as well. I haven't taken the derivative yet. I'm still leaving it there. I want to rewrite this so that my variable is in the numerator. How can I do that, Andrea? So tell me exactly what to write. 3 times 2, is that what you said? 3 times 2e to the negative x. You're really, really close. You've made one of the common mistakes that I used to make too. Does anyone see it? Fiona? Yeah, the 2 doesn't move, just the thing with the variable. So it's 3 over 2, and then you still have you can bring the e to the negative x to the numerator. Perfect. Okay, now we can actually take the derivative. So the derivative of e house is, or I guess I should say daughter of e house is still e house. Who wants to take the derivative for us? Teflon? I think you're skipping a few steps, and you're right, but let's go ahead and just copy down. So if this is e house, just copy it down, right? That's daughter. So we'll copy it down, 3 halves, and I still have that e to the negative x. Okay, but don't forget your dinner, which is, yep, so times, it's -1. And then we can simplify, of course, so I really have negative 3 halves e to the negative x. And you can leave it like that, but you can also realize that, oh yeah, that can turn into -3 in the numerator, and in the denominator I can have 2e to the positive x. Just be comfortable changing those forms. You never know what the multiple choice is going to throw at you. All right, number 4. How do we do that one? And the answer is we can't, not yet. Because I could try to make this a natural log to the negative first power and bring it to the numerator, but then it's product rule because I have a variable times another variable, a house times another house, and it's going to be a bunch of chain rules within itself, so it's going to be kind of hard. So the shortcut for doing number 4 is quotient rule. So in our notes we can just say use quotient rule. Okay, but why? Why do we need to use quotient rule? And that's the next part. Okay, so you're going to use the quotient rule when you have a fraction with it's kind of the same words that we had from yesterday. Does anyone remember? Yeah, Fiona? A house or variable, yeah. So I'm going to do both of them. House. slash variable. I didn't have enough room there, so let me do it underneath. House slash variable on the top and a house slash a variable on the bottom. All right, so let's do the textbook definition, and then we'll do the one that you have to have memorized for the speed sheet. And I guess, yeah, the last one on the speed sheet, what was it, this one down here, we weren't able to get to, but that's today. So the textbook definition, I first do the lower, so g of x times the upper, this f of x, f prime of x, I should say, f prime of x. And the order here does matter. Like with the product rule, you can say 1d2 plus 2d1, or you could also say 2d1 plus 1d2. Like it's the same thing because it's a plus sign. But because this one has a minus sign in the numerator, you have to get the order correct. And I'm going to do the upper, so f of x times the derivative of g of x, so times g prime of x. And all of this is going to be divided by g of x quantity squared. And that formula looks messy and it's gross, and that's why we have this other one. If I've just called the upper, the numerator high, and the denominator low. Do you guys remember it from your speed sheet? Andrea? There it is. All over high d low. All over low low, or low squared. I do want to make this note as well. Almost, I would say like 99% of the time, I should basically just say all the time and semi-lie to you. All the time when you have this denominator squared, do not multiply it out. Don't use FOIL. Don't use the general rectangle. Don't multiply this out. So I'll just say don't FOIL it out. Don't first, outer, inner, last this thing, or don't. Yeah, I'll just say don't FOIL if binomial. If it's just a monomial, if it's just like 3x and it's squared, yeah, okay, that's 9x squared, that's fine. But if it's a binomial, just leave it, because you're never really going to have to multiply it out in AP calculus. You might at the college level, though. All right, so we have our formula. Let's use it. I'm taking the derivative. Oh, it looks like I got a house, an E house in the numerator. It looks like I got a powerhouse in the denominator. So house and house. I'm definitely using quotient rule. How do I do it? I haven't heard from Teflon in a bit. Go for it, Teflon. Times, wait, did you say negative or positive 3? I got positive 3. Just say times 3. Okay, that was the numerator. And what about the denominator? All right, nearly perfect. There's a tiny little mistake. You're starving to death somewhere. Where'd you forget it? Do you see it? Where are the two places that you took the derivative? You took the derivative here and here. Those are the two places you have to be careful about. Where? Yeah, you're correct. Why? Yep. Dinner is -1 because inner was -x. Cool, and then we can simplify this just a little bit. I don't really feel like I want to. The only simplification you can really do is multiply this -1 through this inequality. But there is one thing I do want to mention, just to be familiar with how to factor out. Very, very typically in quotient rule, you'll have, and even product rule too, you'll have something that you can factor out. So let me factor out the e to the -x and see what happens. So this is the same thing as e to the -x being factored out. And if I factor that out for the numerator, what's left over? Who can do a bunch of mental math? You have to do -1, you have to distribute it into this binomial, and then after you do that, you also have to both factor out the e to the -x, that's going to be left with a 3, so it's -3. Lots of mental math. Who wants to try to simplify that numerator? Again, try it on paper if you want to do a few steps worked out. Looks like Andrea and Fiona finished working. Does one of you want to try to give it a shot? No? Andrea? Careful there. So there's still this minus sign, right? 3. And then you could simplify this into... Exactly, yeah. And then that denominator hasn't moved anywhere. It's still this 3x plus 1 quantity squared. Nice. Then we should box our work since we had a few steps that we had to do. And that's it. No backside.